Good evening. This is a special edition of Political Forum for Wednesday, July 21st. I'm Alderman Scott Wagisback of the 32nd Ward of Chicago, and I have a special guest tonight in Syron Smith from the 15th Ward of Chicago, who is also a president or leader of the National Block Club University. Tonight is a live interactive program brought to you as a community service by CAN TV, and we really welcome everything that CAN TV does for us throughout the city. And we want to welcome you tonight by taking your questions and comments and call in at 312-738-1060. It's right there on the screen. And during the next 25 minutes, we'll take as many calls as we can and discuss what we're going to do about fighting crime in the city of Chicago. We're going to start out this evening with a little bit of information about Syron Smith. And why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about your organization and what you're doing to help out the community and fight crime in the 15th Ward and throughout Chicago.
Right. Well, first, let me thank you for allowing me to be on the show with you. I really appreciate that, Alderman.
You're welcome.
I've been fighting this primarily homicide problem for over 15 years now. I tell people all the time I grew up in Cabrini Green and Jane Addams, so I've been around violence since I can remember. And I always wanted to grow up and do something to impact it. I believe in 1993 was the worst year in Chicago on record for homicides. It was 990-some murders. I was 17 years old at that time, and I remember for me, it was joining the U.S. Navy and traveling around the world, but getting outside the city allowed me to just change my perspective on life. And so since then, since I was released out the Navy, I've been working block by block, primarily organizing young people based on what they want to grow up to be, and then getting them outside the neighborhood. I tell people we get them out the oven. They're in the oven cooking in Chicago, so we get them outside the oven so they can see something else, just like the Navy did for me.
I think you and I have similar backgrounds in a sense. We both traveled around the world. We've seen a lot of different cultures and types of communities. I served in Africa for 2 years in the Peace Corps.
Yeah, Kenya. I heard about that today. Great.
And there's a lot of things I think you and I learned, and a lot of other people out there as well, that we not only try to bring back to our communities, but when we're there, we're learning from these other communities as well. And we have the same experience in Chicago, I think. When I visit your community or vice versa, we're trying to figure out what's going on in our city and how to make it better. So what are the things that you guys do specifically in the National Block Club University to make your community better?
Well, first and foremost, I believe I have a lot of acronyms. So most crime have three elements: intent, capability, and then opportunity. And so the intent, it's hard to stop someone's intent to commit a crime. Capability, if you're incarcerated, that limits you being able to have the capacity to do it. But the biggest thing is opportunity. And when you look in certain sectors of the city, it's the greatest opportunity for crime. You have abandoned buildings, unemployed personnel. That recipe don't necessarily go together. So what we do, block by block, we're working on limiting the opportunity for crime and disorder to take place. Another acronym, Alderman, is PRE. Stands for, it's PRE. It stands for Prevention, Resources, and then Enforcement. The notion that, the police can fix our problem is just not balanced. We have to have so much prevention in place. That starts in the household with parents doing their part. Resources, we cannot, and I commend you on how you fought the city with the mismanagement of resources. We cannot have resources going outside the communities instead of coming inside the communities. And then the last one is enforcement. So that's cops, that's police, that's locking people up. But I think we have to have a balanced approach and not just more police and lock people up.
Well, I think that's a great way to look at it, because sometimes what we see in the political forum, not the CAN TV one, and remember to call in if you like at 312-738-1060, but what we see in the political forum here in Chicago is a lot of people like to try to splinter what people are trying to do to make this city a better place to live for everyone, regardless of whether we're black, white, Hispanic, Asian, whatever it is. And I think one of the things that we need to do is look and focus on what you're saying in terms of prevention and getting the right resources in there, and then looking at the enforcement all together as a balanced approach. Now,